Department head's shocking refusal of care from Black doctor exposed. Unbelievable 7.4 Mallar's victory. Dr. Maya Jackson stood before the faded storefront that was once her family's clinic, memories swirling like autumn leaves. The once vibrant blue paint was chipped and dulled, much like the hopes she held close for this place. She had sacrificed everything to return to her hometown after years of grueling training at the best urban hospital. Now, with her medical degree in hand and a heart full of determination, she envisioned a revival of health and vitality for a community that had too long been neglected. But the anticipation of her homecoming darkened with the cold weight of an unexpected barrier: the department head's refusal to recognize her qualifications. The tension tightened around her chest as she thought of Dr. Pritchard, a figure steeped in tradition and prejudice. How could this man, rooted in a legacy of exclusion, stand in the way of her mission? You think just because you trained in the city, you can waltz back in and revive that old clinic? His dismissive tone echoed cruelly in her mind. The truth slithered in like a snake, coiling itself around her resolve. Was returning worth the personal and professional struggle that lay ahead? Maya hesitated, her heart battling a torrent of anger and fear. What if she couldn't break through the barriers? What if Dr. Pritchard's influence stifled her before she even started? Nerves bubbled with uncertainty, gnawing at her confidence. An image of her mother flashed in her mind, an indomitable spirit who had poured her heart into the clinic. Her legacy felt like both a comfort and a weight. You have to be strong for the community, her mother used to say, but that doesn't erase the pressure she felt. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But even as she braced for the fight ahead, she found herself trapped in an agonizing reflection. Would her efforts be worth it? She rummaged fast through the memories of the clinic: laughter, shared health challenges, joy carved into the lines of patients' faces. It fueled her, but at the same time, it reminded her of the formidable doubt looming beneath the surface. Could they see her, or would this legacy of prejudice suffocate her dream? In a moment of clarity amid the chaos, an encounter with Mrs. Edwards, the wise old neighbor who once tended to her garden, struck a chord. "You carry your family's name, dear," she said with knowing eyes. "But it's not just about them. It's about who you become." The weight of those words pulled Maya in, igniting her desire but clouding it with an agonizing question. Would they ever embrace her return, or would she forever be marked by this painful struggle for acceptance? A pit of anxiety formed in her stomach. Each new challenge threatened to unravel the very fabric of her aspirations. The sense of urgency clawed at her psyche. She couldn't ignore the truth looming over her like storm clouds. The small-town whispers grew, and Maya braced herself for the turbulence ahead, feeling the cold grip of uncertainty tight around her throat. Would she find the strength to heal her community, or would she be forced to confront the darkest parts of her past? The image of her mother faded into an echo, but the doubts screamed louder, reverberating in a cacophony of fear. Maya stood at a crossroads, grappling with the heavy question: could hope truly thrive in a place marred by prejudice? Or would her legacy be lost in the shadows forever? Maya drew a slow breath, the chill in the air biting through her coat as she turned away from the clinic. A wave of determination washed over her, urging her feet to move, to forge a pathway through the remnants of her fears. She knew her education had been rigorous, her skills sharp, yet here she was, haunted by the specter of Dr. Pritchard and his archaic view of her worth. He didn't just challenge her qualifications, he threatened to redefine her existence in this hometown she once longed to revive. She clenched her fists, her body tense with the heat of her frustration. The clinic may have dulled, but in her heart, the vibrant colors of her ambition lived on. "You need to stand tall, Maya," she whispered to herself, echoing her mother's teachings. She took another step, not just away from the building, but toward reclaiming her narrative. The old coat of paint did not dictate the potential lurking within those walls. She could breathe life back into them. Days turned into a whirlwind of phone calls and planning, each conversation chipping away at her doubts. Maya reconnected with former patients and their families, feeling the pulse of the community call out to her. They shared stories of their health struggles and addressed the injustices that lingered like shadows. Each person she spoke to ignited her resolve. This was her purpose. These voices were the validation she needed against Dr. Pritchard's disdain. But the deeper she immersed herself into the preparation, the more the looming threat of Pritchard's influence tightened around her. It wasn't mere resistance she faced, it was systemic and deeply entrenched in the fabric of the medical community here. Amid a flurry of paperwork, she crossed paths with Jasmine, a fiery nurse who had fundraised extensively for the clinic during its glory days. "Maya," Jasmine exclaimed, her eyes bright with recognition. "You can't let him hold you back. You've got this." Their casual chat morphed into strategic sessions as they plotted out a plan to counteract Pritchard's authority. Together, they gathered evidence about the clinic's past successes, the health disparities in their town, and the data supporting the need for diverse healthcare providers. Each session was both invigorating and exhausting, the tension between combating the past and the hope of the future palpable in the air. Yet in the quiet moments, self-doubt still whispered to her. What if she failed? Each what if clung to her thoughts like the morning fog, distorting her vision of success. Was she capable of gathering enough support to withstand the storm that Pritchard could unleash? It nagged at her, the thought that even with brilliant plans, the very act of returning could kindle an unabated fire of resistance. Maya paused on a particularly tense evening, staring at her reflection in the darkened window of the clinic. This was not just about her. It carried the weight of her mother's legacy, her patients' futures, and her own identity. Complex, resilient, and finally on the cusp of battle. This was her moment, she realized. There was power in transformation, and it began with confronting the past. With renewed vigor, she turned back inside the clinic, the air inside heavy with potential. The walls had absorbed her dreams, and it was time they echoed back her defiance. But just as she reached for her phone to arrange the first community meeting, her mind stopped short. Would they rally behind her? Or would they too be scared off by the whispers of a department head rooted in prejudice? The tension tightened again, uncertainty gripping her heart as she prepared to make the announcement that would determine her future and reshape her community's healthcare. Would she emerge victorious, able to reclaim her legacy? Or would the weight of history crush her aspirations once and for all? The moment of truth loomed closer, shadows of doubt sneaking in around every corner. Maya woke up 2 days later, her thoughts a tangled web of plans and fears. Each tick of the clock echoed softly in the stillness of her room, a reminder that time was slipping away. She had vowed to seize control rather than let Pritchard's legacy define her. The weight pressing against her chest felt insurmountable, but as she strapped on her boots and prepared to leave the safety of her home, she remembered the faces of her patients, their stories fueling her resolve. With Jasmine's support, they had crafted a community meeting to spread awareness about the clinic's needs, the barriers in place, and the determination they inspired. Time to put words into action. As she stepped into the clinic, the air was thick with possibility but also with apprehension. Jasmine was already setting up, her enthusiasm a stark contrast to Maya's lingering doubts. "Maya, look at this," she said, holding up meticulously arranged charts detailing patient demographics and healthcare inequalities. "People need to see this. They need to know how much is at stake." Maya nodded, acknowledging the effort it took to compile such compelling data. Yet a flurry of what-ifs pulled at her. What if they didn't show? What if Pritchard's influence reached further than she anticipated? As they prepared for the arrival of community members, she fought to stabilize the sighs that threatened to escape her lips. She couldn't afford to show apprehension. She needed to radiate confidence. She rehearsed her opening remarks, feeling the shape of her speech in her heart and mind, sharpening her message like a blade. When the first attendees trickled in, Maya was surprised by the range of faces, some familiar from her past, others strangers whose lives had been impacted by inadequate care. The shift in energy was palpable. She felt a swell of hope, but also an underlying fear. Her heart raced as she began to speak, her voice wavering at first but then growing steadier with each passing moment. She detailed her vision, the clinic's legacy, and the injustices born of bias that would continue if they remained silent. Then came the moment she had dreaded. A direct confrontation. Pritchard's name floated into the room, as if summoned by the fearful whispers echoing in her mind. A local journalist trying to squeeze every detail for their latest exposé pressed her for specifics about his role in the clinic's decline. "Many of my patients suffered quietly under his leadership," she stated, her voice firm. "It's crucial that we start to speak against such treatment." The room hung in an anticipatory silence. The tension felt like a taut bowstring, ready to snap. Someone in the back raised their hand, skepticism etched across their face. "And you think this is going to change anything? He's been in charge for years." Maya took a breath, steeling herself. Change is only possible if we stop accepting the status quo. When we stand together to demand our right to quality care, only then can we make a difference. The atmosphere shifted. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, some nodding in agreement. However, the enigmatic expressions of several others suggested that Pritchard's grip on the community was still formidable. As she concluded her talk, Maya felt a flicker of defiance surge within her. Perhaps today wouldn't change everything, but it was a start, a seed of awareness planted in the heart of her hometown. Yet as she scanned the room, she noticed several unsettling figures lurking near the entrance. It was a group of Pritchard's allies, the very people who had supported him through thick and thin. Did they intend to disrupt, to undermine the fragile alliance she was trying to build? Maya's pulse quickened. The moment of truth was approaching. She could choose to retreat in fear or stand her ground. Her heart raced as she realized the stakes were higher than she had envisioned. And this was about more than just healthcare. This was about reclaiming her voice in a system designed to silence it. With newfound resolve, she stepped forward, determination blazing like a beacon. Would she confront the looming antagonists and risk everything? Or could she find another way to rally her supporters and fortify her position? The shadows of doubt thickened as the true battle had only just begun. Maya's heart thundered in her chest as she locked eyes with one of the figures, a man she recognized from Pritchard's inner circle. His expression was a mix of contempt and amusement, as if he thrived on the chaos of her uncertainty. She felt the weight of his gaze anchoring her in place, and for a moment she was lost in the challenge it posed. What would he say? What would he do? The voices of her supporters faded as her thoughts spiraled. The threats they posed were not just personal. They were threats against what she had started to build, the fragile community of hope she dared to foster. But retreating now would mean letting Pritchard win, letting that legacy loom over her aspirations like a storm cloud, forever darkening the prospect of change. "Let's keep showing up even if they're here," Jasmine whispered, sensing the shift in Maya's demeanor. Her reassurance was like steel, hard yet flexible, and it shook Maya from her stupor. "That's right," Maya replied, steeling herself. "But we need to speak out. If we stay silent, we lose." Glimmers of determination met her gaze from familiar faces around the room. She decided to seize the moment for something greater than herself. This became a declaration, a rallying cry. With each assertion she made against Pritchard's policies and their implications, Maya felt something inside her shift. The initial tremble of her voice transformed into a steady cadence filled with strength. The charts Jasmine had prepared provided a visceral backdrop supporting her claims, turning statistics into compelling stories that lured listeners in. Then came a woman with a resolute voice that cut through the murmuring crowd. "You really think you can change years of corruption? Pritchard isn't going to back down," she challenged, disappointment lacing her words. Maya licked her lips, ready to respond. "And neither will we. Change isn't instantaneous. It's messy and complicated, but it starts with one voice and grows through perseverance." The woman's eyebrows began to lower as if considering Maya's resolve for the first time. There it was, a flicker of doubt crossing her features, a possibility that change wasn't just a dream. Then a hand shot up from the group lurking near the entrance. It was the journalist again. But won't Pritchard's influence silence you before you even begin? His connections are too strong, and he has the backing of powerful allies, he goaded, clearly eager to stir trouble. Maya inhaled sharply. Fighting against the barrage of fears, she reminded herself of the people whose lives rested in her hands. Undoubtedly he has allies, she admitted, her voice steady. But we have the truth on our side. Every patient's story is another nail in the coffin of his legacy. We can't allow fear of power to stifle our voices. A flicker of acknowledgement spread through the audience. The room filled with whispered conversations, tentative supporters questioning what they thought they knew about Pritchard's grip on their healthcare. Yet, the demeanor of Pritchard's allies in the back remained unchanged, eyes glued to her with an unsettling intensity. It struck Maya that their presence seemed less about intimidation and more about strategy. They were calculating their moves. As she scanned the crowd again, she could see the slow transformation. Faces were hardening in resolve, and uncertainty dissipated with the growing audacity of her words. And just like that, a shift of energy rippled through the room and Maya began to feel powerful. She was, after all, still on the front lines, armed with knowledge and compassion. What she hadn't anticipated, however, was the realization that Pritchard's network might not be as infallible as she had feared. Yet the urgency remained. She needed to gather concrete support immediately. Their collective anger could morph into action if she channeled it correctly. Let's reach out to the local media. We need them to hear this story, she declared, eyes sparkling with defiance. Our clinic deserves to be revived, and it will take all of us to do it. As the crowd echoed her call, excitement coursed through her, a mixture of exhilaration and trepidation. Could she lead this fight? Before answers formed, she spotted Pritchard's allies stirring, something darkening their previously smug expressions. Maya understood that this was only the beginning, and the fight ahead was going to test every ounce of her determination. The moment of truth arrived, drawing her deeper into conflict. Would she follow through or falter under the pressure of their looming threat? Would she harness the power of their voices or risk being silenced, her own growing confidence now under direct threat? As her next steps crystallized in her mind, so did a realization. The battle wasn't just with Pritchard but also within herself. This fight would not be merely for the clinic, but a reclamation of her fading narrative. The stakes had never felt so personal, and a surge of determination ignited within her. The question burned brighter. Could she rise not just as a healer, but a leader? With the echoes of her own determined call still reverberating in her mind, Maya transitioned into a new phase of her struggle. The air felt charged, a mix of anxiety and hope that seemed to course through her and her supporters like a current. It was a moment that could define her leadership, a crucible testing her resolve against the looming specter of Pritchard and his cronies. Jasmine leaned closer, her eyes glistening with both concern and excitement. You did it, Maya. But what's next? The question lingered between them, pregnant with possibility but also fraught with peril. Maya's gut tightened at the thought of what lay ahead. She attempted to push down the rising tide of self-doubt, reminding herself that Pritchard wasn't going to fold easily. We need to formulate a game plan, she huffed, her voice still gaining strength. Each word felt like a foothold climbing a steep cliff. We can't just go to the media unprepared. This isn't just about reporting. It's about telling a story that resonates, that sticks. Strategizing with the group, the tension in her body eased as she felt the power of collaboration. They began sifting through ideas, nurturing what uncoiled in her mind, the realization that they could craft their narrative, a powerful weapon against the disinformation Pritchard had spread. They created a list of personal stories, patients affected by policies that disregarded their humanity. Each narrative was a thread woven into a larger tapestry, depicting the grim reality of care under Pritchard's regime. Let's set up interviews with some of the patients, Maya proposed. If we can show how his policies have real-life consequences, the media can't ignore us. There was no denying her rising fervor. It propelled her forward, igniting ambitions she had only begun to consider. What if they push back? Jasmine asked, her brow furrowing. Then we push back harder, Maya replied, the assertiveness surprising even herself. Every word weighed heavy with the urgency of her mission. To confront that darkness, she must become a strong leader, not only in voice but in conviction. Building this sense of purpose stirred memories of her past. The documentaries of activism she had absorbed in college, the passionate speeches that had once moved her to tears. Those moments were lifelines for her budding resolve. Each example reminded her of the power that came from courageously claiming one's story. As they worked, every element felt pivotal. Social media was a natural extension of their outreach, and Maya sensed the urgency to harness its potential. By creating posts filled with impactful statistics and patient testimonials, they could generate buzz that might even catch the media's attention. We must bring in local influencers, people who can amplify our message, Maya said, her pulse racing as she outlined this new avenue. She sensed a metamorphosis in herself. With every idea shared, her confidence expanded, breaking away the remnants of her self-doubt. But reality clawed at her thoughts. Pritchard's formidable connections could obliterate their efforts with one swift move. Striking at him might be both their strength and their vulnerability. She would have to remain vigilant, aware that he would be monitoring their every move. As they mapped their approach and set timelines, the mounting pressure began to manifest physically. Maya felt the weight of the challenge pressing down, but alongside it was an exhilarating rush. This was her purpose crystallizing, the moment for which she had fought. She wasn't just trying to reclaim her clinic, she was stepping into a role she had never imagined for herself. But underneath the zeal pulsed a vein of fear, a new burden. What if the resistance from Pritchard's camp was more formidable than they anticipated? What if their grassroots efforts failed to take flight? Each question was a brush with reality, a reminder that she was walking a tightrope. Yet, as they drew up plans, Maya felt that surge of determination return. The stakes were defining, and she had to push forward. With each mapping session, she envisioned herself standing not just as a healer, but as a champion for those whose voices were silenced. As she rallied her supporters around her vision, a flicker of movement caught her eye. Pritchard's allies had re-entered the building, bearing expressions of a predatory calm. Realizing that the clock was ticking, Maya steeled herself for an encounter that was inevitable but daunting. The dialogue within would lead them to a collision point, and she could either back down or rise. With her heart racing, she felt a familiar spark ignite. The reckoning was just beginning. What would happen when they inevitably confronted her? Would her newfound voice withstand the raging storm? As the thought circled her mind, a realization settled. This wasn't just a fight for patients or even the clinic. It was a battle for her identity, the emergence of the vigorous leader within. The moment was ripe for a decisive confrontation, but Maya wondered if the upcoming clash would leave her in tatters or mold her into the formidable force she had yet to become. Maya's heart pounded in her chest as she stood at the center of the grimy conference room, its walls adorned with peeling paint and echoes of past decisions. The tension in the air was electric, each click of the clock amplifying the sense of impending confrontation. Pritchard's minions congregated in a tight circle, their posture like wolves preparing to pounce. Her thoughts raced. Was she really ready for this? She had thrown herself into the fire, but was she strong enough to withstand the heat? With a firm breath, she rallied her thoughts. This was no longer just about her clinic. It was about defining who she was and what she stood for. Remember the stories, she whispered to herself. These lives matter. They were the foundation of her cause and her shield. Pritchard had built his empire on the back of neglect, but as she visualized each individual affected by his policies, Maya's resolve solidified. Let's make sure we have our facts straight before we enter this discussion, she instructed Jasmine, and the others gathered around her. The last-minute preparations felt clumsy but necessary. The strategy they had crafted was a mosaic of emotions: pain, anger, hope. Focus completely on their policies, she continued, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. We need to expose the impact Pritchard's decisions have on real lives, streamline it into a narrative we can control. If we can corner him with the truth, it will resonate, and he won't have the luxury to deflect. Right, but what if they come with counter-narratives? Jasmine's brow creased, reflecting a doubt that had begun to seep into the group. He knows how to manipulate facts, bend them to his will. Maya straightened, feeling the weight of daunting uncertainties. What if they faced blatant lies? What if they twisted her intentions? Then we don't just stand back and take it. We come prepared to fight back. We meticulously document every piece of evidence. We won't just rely on our words, we show them the data, the consequences of those choices. It's about accountability. The group murmured in agreement, and an unexpected camaraderie formed. Together they were a force, a symbiotic union of divergent backgrounds and shared ambitions, each voice blending into a stronger chorus. As Maya stood before them, she recognized how pivotal these moments were, redefining her journey. Suddenly the door swung open, and Pritchard strolled in with a cool arrogance, flanked by his two lieutenants. Their presence extinguished the room's warmth, replaced with a chill that swept over the group. "Interesting that you chose to call this meeting, Maya," Pritchard sneered, his voice a serpentine whisper that oozed condescension. "Do you really think you have the power to challenge my authority? You're a small fish in an ocean of sharks." Maya felt the grip of fear but channeled it. "It isn't about power," she replied, her voice steady, a stark contrast to the chaos within. "It's about accountability. Your policies directly hurt our patients. You've disregarded the very people your organization claims to serve." The room vibrated with a tension that crackled in the air. She caught the flinty gaze of Jasmine and the others behind her, drawing strength from their unwavering support. "Accountability," Pritchard repeated, his tone mocking. "You think leveling accusations will win you sympathy? You're simply pushing against a system that you don't understand." Something snapped within her. This wasn't a conversation, it was a declaration of war. "I may be a small fish, but I'm not going to let the sharks drown my patience. Those numbers on the charts you parade, those are lives. I'm standing here because every name on that list deserves to be heard." A flicker of surprise crossed his face before irritation settled in. The brutal honesty had pierced his veil. "You're making a mistake," he shot back, but Maya saw the cracks in his cool demeanor. Each retort was tinged with desperation, a crack in his facade she was finally able to exploit. As they launched into an escalating debate filled with accusations and counterclaims, Maya felt herself advancing into uncharted territory. This was no longer merely a professional confrontation. It was a crucial step in claiming her identity as a leader. But doubt lurked behind the confidence. Could she maintain this momentum? The knowledge of what Pritchard was capable of weighed heavily on her thoughts. At that moment, the heated exchange stalled and Pritchard leaned forward, his expression icy. "You better be prepared for the backlash, Maya. This isn't just business, it's personal." A bolt of certainty shot through her. The fight was not just against a corporation. It was a battle for her future, her identity, everything she had dared to become. As Pritchard's warning hung ominously between them, she realized this confrontation would define her trajectory. Would she emerge from the flames, forged into something stronger, or would she be scorched in the backlash? In that moment, Maya knew this was only the beginning. Maya's mind raced as she stepped away from Pritchard's menacing glare, the weight of his words pressing down on her like a heavy fog. The adrenaline coursing through her veins blurred the line between fear and determination. She had been thrust into a battleground, and each moment felt critical in establishing her place in this complex chess game of power and integrity. As Pritchard's minions murmured amongst themselves, she understood the stakes were personal, not just for her but for countless others who suffered under the guise of corporate bureaucracy. She had to lead with unshakable poise. This was her opportunity to not only expose Pritchard's wrongdoings, but also to carve out her identity as a fierce, unyielding advocate. Maya cleared her throat, steeling herself as she pivoted towards the group. "We have momentum. We need to capitalize on it," she said, her voice resonating with newfound authority. "Let's lay down the evidence." She gestured to Jasmine, who promptly unveiled charts depicting the stark realities of patient neglect. Together they peppered Pritchard with a barrage of statistics. Lives impacted, healthcare disparities deepened, and most importantly, stories that humanized the data. Maya watched as Pritchard's expression shifted subtly, the confident facade faltering when confronted with the tangible ramifications of his policies. Each whispered testimony from her colleagues added fuel to her fire. "We can't pull back now," she urged, her heart racing as the tide began to turn. "This is our moment to expose the truth." But somewhere in the furor of the debate, a creeping sense of doubt slithered into her mind. Could she really sustain this pace? Were they prepared for the backlash that Pritchard had hinted at? As the exchange escalated, Maya forced herself to focus on her message. Her fingers trembled slightly on the table, but she willed herself to continue. "What you're doing isn't just business, it's neglect. You're perpetuating a cycle of suffering, and it's about time someone held you accountable." The atmosphere in the room crackled. She felt as though she were riding a wave, teetering dangerously close to the edge. The words came pouring out of her, driven by an urgency she hadn't known existed. Each fact she presented was a stepping stone leading her closer to self-affirmation, and with every assertion, she dug deeper into her reservoir of strength. Suddenly, Jasmine interjected with a determined flash in her eyes. "And when did profits outweigh lives in your ledger, Pritchard?" The audacity of her question punctured the cold tension, invoking a moment of stunned silence. Pritchard leaned back, arms crossed defensively, but Maya noticed the flicker of uncertainty beneath his practiced arrogance. The vulnerability he exuded ignited an unyielding flame within her. Had he underestimated her resolve, her preparedness to challenge him? The conversation shifted. Instead of deflecting or dodging her queries, he hurled accusations back, twisting everything into a personal affront against her character. "You think you're the voice of the people? You're a misguided idealist, Maya. This isn't a fairy tale." The scorn in his voice dripped like venom, but within the depths of Maya's spirit, a steadfast courage ignited. "Idealism is the first step toward change, Pritchard, and change is what's coming, whether you like it or not." The conviction in her words thundered in the space between them, reverberating off the walls, drowning out the echoes of his deceit. As the atmosphere crackled with renewed intensity, Maya felt the tide turn yet again. Each retort served not only to bolster her case, but also to reclaim her narrative. The ramifications of this confrontation extended far beyond the meeting room. This was about redefining her identity and her role in the fight for justice for those most silenced. In the back of her mind, a persistent question lingered. What would be left of her once the fallout began? The stakes were rising, and with each exchange, the weight of uncertainty pressed heavier on her shoulders. The meeting culminated in a tense aura that rendered Maya unbearably aware of the battle just beginning. As the clock ticked mercilessly, she laid her final words on the table. "I'm not backing down, Pritchard. You're not infallible, and your empire is built on the suffering of others. So let's get ready." Pritchard's eyes narrowed. "Prepare for what comes next, Maya. You're going to wish you hadn't gone down this path." For a fleeting moment, doubt crept into her thoughts again. Could she withstand the storm? But right then she realized it wasn't just about the outcome. It was about forging herself anew in this crucible of confrontation. As Pritchard's oppressive presence lingered, Maya felt the pulse of determination surge within her. With the battle ahead looming ominously, she knew one thing. This was only the beginning of her transformation, and the real fight had yet to commence. The aftermath of the meeting left Maya buzzing with urgency and doubt. She paced her tiny office, the dim light flickering overhead, stark against the shadows of uncertainty creeping into her mind. Her hands rested on the desk as she struggled to grasp the gravity of her confrontation with Pritchard. The way his smirk faded, how he shifted defensively, and the way her pulse raced with every word. It all felt surreal. Yet the adrenaline soon yielded to a gnawing uncertainty. What if this fight led to nothing but ruin? Maya took a deep breath, firming her resolve. She refused to let fear paralyze her. The stakes had never felt taller, and the time had come to invest in her advocacy, not just for herself, but for the many voices still silenced by corporate abuse. Jasmine's words lingered. A challenge echoed in her mind, demanding action. The harboring stories of patients needing care fueled her ambition. They weren't mere numbers. They were lives at stake. Maya realized she had to channel everything she felt into something tangible. a strategy that could galvanize support beyond the four walls of her office. She would set the wheels in motion for greater transparency. Pulling up her laptop, Maya typed feverishly. A digital campaign began to form in her mind, one that would lay bare the discrepancies in care and hopefully turn public opinion against Pritchard's regime. Courage flickered within her as clarity emerged. Maya would document testimonies from the victims. They needed to be the centerpiece of her campaign, transforming cold statistics into relatable, visceral narratives that could spark outrage. These were not isolated incidents, but a widespread pattern of neglect. Grabbing her phone, she began to draft an email to her coworkers. "We need to collect stories. They will be our most powerful weapon." Before she pressed send, the moment felt momentous. A new beginning and a declaration of war against apathy. The fear still bubbled within her, but she was learning to use it. In this phase of her professional development, she understood that resilience did not equate to the absence of fear. It was the refusal to let fear dictate her actions. Moments later, Jasmine replied, her excitement apparent in every word. Together they began to strategize, outlining a plan to gather the testimonies, creating a dossier of evidence that would be difficult for even Pritchard to dismiss. The momentum gathered like a swell, feeding into the confidence that had begun to shape Maya. That evening, as she locked up her office, determined and fueled by purpose, a message pinged on her phone. It was from an unknown number. Maya's chest tightened as she read, "I know what you're trying to do, Maya. You're in way over your head. You have no idea the lengths Pritchard will go to protect his empire. Watch your back." Adrenaline surged as her heart raced. This was her new reality, a dangerous dance with forces that would not hesitate to crush her. The shadows loomed larger, but as she stepped into the night, something shifted. Maya could now see the depth of her purpose, with the stakes crystallizing into clarity. She had ignited a flame, and now it was time to fan the flames. The time had come to face the murky waters of sabotage, deceit, and maybe even betrayal. She couldn't retreat now. Too many depended on her tenacity. Before she turned away from the office building, she whispered to herself, "Whatever comes next, I'll be ready." But then a sharp crack echoed behind her. She spun around, heart racing. Someone was watching her, lurking in the shadows. The chase was just beginning, and with it, the awareness that this fight would demand more from her than she had ever anticipated. What dark secrets were buried in Pritchard's empire, and would she be willing to risk everything to uncover them? Maya's heart pounded in her chest as she spun around, scanning the dimly lit street. The silence around her seemed to thicken, the shadows stretching ominously. Anxiety coursed through her veins, but she quickly suppressed it, forcing herself to adopt a calm exterior. She was not an easy target. She needed to think strategically if she was going to navigate the treacherous path ahead. The fleeting echo of the crack resurfaced in her mind. It reminded her of the stakes at play. Fear was a weapon designed to undermine resolve, but Maya was determined to fortify her defenses. She turned on her heel and walked with purpose, each step echoing her commitment to the fight ahead. In the quiet of her apartment later, she took a moment to gather her thoughts, the ambient noise of the city washing over her like waves. With the laptop open, she began to research Pritchard's history, his strategies, and vulnerabilities. Every piece of information could be a crucial link in the fight for accountability. Determination propelled her fingers across the keyboard, and with each keystroke she felt herself transitioning from apprehension to action. Among the files and reports, she stumbled upon a controversial case involving a hospital's refusal to treat patients based on discriminatory grounds. The parallels with her situation stood out glaringly. Time slipped through her fingers as she immersed herself in the stories, words igniting a fire within her, each one a reminder of why she had to continue. Finding her voice was no longer a daunting task. It had become essential. Maya set a goal: to craft a series of posts that would highlight the chilling similarity between Pritchard's practices and the case she had uncovered. This was her opening, a chance not just to expose Pritchard but to rally others who felt the oppressive weight of his decisions. The campaign unfolded in her mind like a well-structured play, and she started a blog that would serve as a platform for sharing personal stories and evidence. her own safe space to begin reshaping the narrative. A few days in, Jasmine joined her after hours. They sat side by side in Maya's apartment, with visuals and data scattered among coffee cups and notebooks. Together, they meticulously penned articles that begged to be read, transforming personal narratives into a collective outcry against corporate misconduct. As night turned to dawn, Maya grinned at her rising sense of purpose, fueled by collaboration and hope. Just as their plan began to solidify, an urgent email from an investigator known for working with whistleblowers landed in Maya's inbox. "I hear you're digging into Pritchard's dealings," the subject read. "Meet me. I have something you need to see. Be careful." Trust was a precarious balance. Despite the risk of betrayal lingering in the air, Maya sensed opportunity. This could be the breakthrough she needed, but the timing also sent a shiver down her spine. Would she be walking into another trap? With the sunlight shining through her window, she squared her shoulders, knowing that in the coming meeting she had to be both smart and resolute. This wasn't just about gathering information. It was about stepping into the role of a leader completely, taking ownership of her journey. But as she prepared for the encounter, a pit of anxiety pooled in her stomach. The chase was becoming more complex, and the cost of truth was steep. Could she embody the resilience she sought to inspire in others while grappling with her inner doubts? The city's pulse vibrated through her, a rhythm intertwining with her own sense of urgency. As she glanced at the clock, Maya's resolve crystallized. She was ready to test her limits, but what danger awaited her in this clandestine meeting? A new chapter was about to unfold in her battle against Pritchard, but she needed to uncover the truth within herself first. Would she rise from the ashes of doubt, or would the shadows swallow her whole? Maya stood at the precipice of personal and professional transformation, brimming with both anxiety and determination as she faced new challenges. The clandestine meeting with the investigator had sparked a decisive shift in her approach. She knew she could no longer remain passive while confronting Pritchard. She had to become the force of change herself. The dimly lit diner where she had arranged to meet felt like a hidden realm of secrets and potential. As she walked in, the scent of coffee mingled with stale air filled her senses. Her heart raced as she scanned the booths. Each beat echoed her resolve, not just to learn but to act. She had chosen this fight, and now it was a matter of loyalty to her community and to herself. "Dr. Jackson," a voice said from the corner booth. The investigator, a man with intense, watchful eyes, waved her over. "I appreciate you coming. We don't have much time." His urgency matched her own as they dove into a conversation laced with revelations about Pritchard's dealings that overstepped ethical boundaries. Each piece of information dripped with urgency, painting a darker picture than she had prepared for. Yet, instead of fear, a thrilling sense of empowerment spread through Maya's veins. The investigator handed her documents. They were filled with evidence of malpractice linked directly to systemic negligence. "This is your key," he said, "but use it wisely. Pritchard won't hesitate to strike back if he realizes you're on his trail." Maya felt history folding in on itself. Her legacy, intertwined with her mother's mission to provide for their community, now served as the driving force behind her. She could feel it. This was her earnest moment of accountability. Armed with newfound knowledge, she refused to be rendered powerless. Returning to her temporary office, Maya began to strategize more robustly. The pieces were converging. She crafted an organized plan to invest in grassroots campaigns involving the stories she had collected from the patients. Each narrative would serve not only as a testimony, but as a beacon for the recalled injustices. She envisioned billboards, social media campaigns, and community meetings where these voices would be amplified. This was her moment to flourish. With Jasmine's unwavering support, they formed a team. Everyone brought their talents, and the energy rippled through their ranks. They secured meetings with local media to shed light on the initiative. Each encounter was invigorating. She felt the adrenaline of the community coalescing around a vision that could no longer be ignored. As the stories began to surface organically through her blog, Maya felt an exhilarating shift in her personal journey. The comments section lit up with encouragement, allies coming forward, and families expressing gratitude for finally being heard. But uncertainty still clawed at her, a silent reminder of Pritchard's threat. His shadow still lurked. Maya prepared for the possibility of retaliation. This time, however, she wasn't afraid. She had redefined her narrative, melding her passion and her purpose into a formidable weapon. Weeks passed, and her determined momentum found its climax one fateful evening. A community gathering at the clinic became the stage for her resolve, where patients and advocates united to share their stories publicly. Maya stood at the helm, faced with an audience that had long been neglected but was now awakening to the power of their collective voice. As she stepped up to the microphone, Maya felt solid confidence replace any remnant of doubt. "I stand here for each of you tonight," she began. "For each life impacted by careless inaction, and for every story still waiting to be told. This isn't just a fight for healthcare, this is a fight for justice, dignity, and our future." Her words pierced the room. As she spoke, it was clear she was no longer just recollecting her fears. She had cultivated experience and determination into a life's mission, proving to herself, and to everyone gathered, she had ascended to the leader she was always meant to be. That evening ended with an overwhelming chorus of support. They rallied together, signing petitions, sharing their own stories on social media platforms. The campaign's visibility skyrocketed, capturing not just local attention, but drawing in regional support that further emboldened her cause. In the weeks that followed, investigative news outlets began to delve deeper into Pritchard's operations, bolstered by the weight of public outcry. Recognized at last, Maya's name surfaced frequently, not as just a doctor or a former patient of the clinic, but as a powerful advocate for change. She had embarked on a journey that would transform her identity and recognize her competence, not only within her community, but in the broader healthcare narrative. When the day of reckoning finally arrived, the board meeting convened to address Pritchard's alleged misconduct. Maya stood prepared, armed with a formidable coalition and an unrivaled determination to see justice served. She watched as the tides shifted, voices uniting to demand accountability, edging ever closer to the victory that would redefine her homecoming. As Maya walked away from the meeting, armed with the knowledge that her fight had moved mountains, she felt a deep and deserving fulfillment wash over her. She had reclaimed her legacy, carved out her rightful place in a system that devalued her. She was an embodiment of tenacity, proving that roots could indeed run deep, transforming trials into triumphs. Her community had rallied around her and for her, reclaiming their shared legacy of health and restoration. The echoes of her mother's wisdom resonated powerfully. "You have to be strong for the community." Maya had risen. They had risen together. This was not merely an end point, but a beacon for what lay ahead. Change had become a reality, and she was no longer confined by uncertainty, but propelled by the victory, undergirded by justice. Now it was your turn to become a part of this movement. You need to subscribe now to ensure you do not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that inspire change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and amplify these messages of transformation. Comment your reactions and theories about Maya's journey and the ramifications of her battle for justice. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and become empowered to reclaim their narratives. Don't wait even one more second to get involved. This is the moment to show your support.